Hey class, welcome back to EDUC 3233. We are continuing our discussion on self-efficacy, kind of getting into more theories of motivation. Expanding on that, I think last lecture we looked at social cognitive theory, and I think the last slide touched on the different sources of self-efficacy. So we're just going to pick up on there and look at the educational implications from this particular theory. So there are four main sources of self-efficacy where we develop that sense of like, I think I can, again, the little engine that could. We have mastery experiences. So if we've done something well in the past, we can easily look back on that, and that's a source of self-efficacy. So like if I've taken a stats class, for example, in the past and I did well, like let's say I got an A, when I'm going to sign up for classes again and I look and I see there's another stats class, maybe I need it and I'm choosing between that class and another class, I might think, oh well, I've done well. So cool. If I did well in the past, I'll probably do well in the future. There's also vicarious experiences. We can see success through somebody else, especially if that person is like us. Let's say it's a friend or a family member. If we see somebody else be successful at something we're interested in, we might think, oh, well, if they did it, so can I. I'm just as smart as my friend. I'm just as talented or this or that. And, we're likely to derive self-efficacy from that as well. Verbal messages and social persuasion. This can come from teachers. Let's say in a classroom, you can give verbal feedback to your students and let them know like, hey, you're doing really well and I think you're good at this. You've got a lot of, you put in a lot of effort and you're doing really well. Social persuasion, maybe it's friends, maybe it's kind of the reverse of the vicarious experience. Maybe you have a friend who's telling you, hey, I took this class and did really well, and we're a lot alike, so might as well. I think you would do well too. And then finally, physiological and emotional states. We kind of we rely on our own body's physiological and emotional states to kind of gauge how we feel. So if we feel really nervous about something, that might kind of dip into our self-efficacy. But if we feel really excited and interested, we might feel a different level of self-efficacy going there. So what does this mean for education? Well, development of skills. I mean, this is a process, and there are a lot of ways that we can feel good about ourselves, and you're going to experience those different sources of self-efficacy through this process of skills. It takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of effort, and so as teachers, that's where you can really give forth that kind of social persuasion. You can really tap into those previous mastery experiences, and you can even use vicarious experiences, let's say in the classroom, to show and say, hey, your classmates are doing this. You're just as capable of doing it as they are. Ensure that the interpretation of those experiences, even as failure, are adaptive. Like, hey, even though maybe you didn't do quite as well this time, you have something to build on. And again, that's where you can kind of tap back into that verbal feedback portion of the self-efficacy sources. Intentional about things that you say and convey, even unintended messages, like the feedback that you're giving students or people that you're kind of working with. Even body language sometimes can send feedback when we don't even necessarily mean to. So, anyways, think about those sources of self-efficacy and think about their educational implications. We're wrapping up our section on self-efficacy, and we'll pick back up with a new topic next week. So, take care, everyone. Bye.